Hello YouTube friends, I'm back with a more cheery video today. I put that one up in the middle of the week just randomly. I hadn't actually intended to film that one, and that's where I'm explaining about why it is you've just seen an advert on this channel and why the hitherto ad-free channel has now got ads. And I explain all about it with Norma helping me to get over myself there. Someone in the comments said, "Oh Kate, just build a bridge and get over yourself." Something like that. It was a really nice little phrase. So I've built the bridge now. I'm over the other side. Anna's been really great at supporting me through that lot. And it's not what I wanted to do, but I don't want to talk about that again. You can go back and watch that video if you want to. So today though, it's a beautiful sunny day. And I have been out in the garden, but it's actually a bit too warm. I know I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about how warm it is, but I've got a lot of planting to do, and things don't like to be planted out in the heat of the day. They just don't enjoy it. It takes them a bit to recover. So I've soaked everything that I want to plant, and I'm going to plant it out later when it's a bit cooler in the evening. I've been mowing as well, because that's a job that needs doing all the time, and so again, it was just getting a bit too hot. So I thought, well, I want to make this video. It's Saturday. I often make your Sunday video on a Saturday. So I want to make that because I've got everything I'm going to talk about right here. But before I do, I want to talk about this that's behind me. Now, for those of you with very long memories, and I mean very long, I dyed a load of indigo fabric. I cut it into, I think these are 7.5-inch squares or 8-inch squares, with the intention of making curtains for my bedroom that would look like a beautiful summery sky. And that's as far as it ever got. Now I sometimes say, don't worry, I won't drop the ball. Well, I did drop the ball on that one. The box with all the pieces in got pretty buried underneath a load of other things. And eventually I found it again. And I found it because over on Patreon, I've been doing one of the alongs that I've just finished is all about pajagi. And the seams that I want to do, or am doing, for this curtain, there's a single layer, and I'm sewing them together in that pajagi style. Now, I still love them as much as I do when I first made them. I'm still going to carry on and finish them, but I really am going to finish them this time. So the squares are all being sewn together, and the way that I'm doing it, I'm sewing them together in runs of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in runs of 7, without really thinking about which one comes next, because they're all so very different. The only thing is that I wouldn't put a very dark one next to a very dark one, and the same with a very light one next to a very light one. That's all. And then when the runs of 7 are all sewn together, and I've got them over in the sewing machine over there, I'm going to just put them up and then organize it that way. I don't need to organize the single squares. So that's that one. And at the end of this video, I'll put an end card and I'll link to the video, which is so long ago now, that you'll be able to go back and have a look at how I dyed the fabric and how I cut it all out and had a chat. Today though, this is another series, and we started the first of the series, and I'll leave a link to this one as well. Maybe that'll be the playlist. I don't know. At the end of this video, there'll be an end card, and on there there'll be a playlist and another video, and the other video will be this one, and the playlist will be about what we're doing here now. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see when we get to the edit. And so when I made a start on this series, it was about looking at my mum's quilts and measuring them all. I've got all the measurements here, and what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the fabric that I've got for the backing. Now, just a couple of weeks ago, I went down to my parents' house. You know, my mum died 3.5 years ago, and my dad's in residential care now. And so I went to make a start with the rest of my family on sorting out some of the things that need to be done there. And I knew that Mum would have backing fabric. I just knew she would. And so what I brought back from her store is loads and loads of fabric, and I'm going to look for the right one to go with the right quilt and get them all matched up so that then I can take them up to Scotland to see Kath, who's the long arm quilter, and she's asked me to prepare the backing 4 inches larger all the way round. And so I've got the measurements here. So I'll just, you know, if one's 80 inches, I'll just make it 88 or 90 just to be on the safe side, so that she's got that extra for when she's loading it onto her machine. And we'll go up there together. That'll be another one in this series. I haven't organised with Kath yet when to go. When she got back to me and said that she was happy for me to come, she's actually going to be at the Festival of Quilts in the NEC in Birmingham. So that week there, she definitely won't want anything to do with me that week. And so I'll find a date that suits us both. And when I've got, so the next thing then is to sort out all the backings for these quilts. Right, so when I was looking at them then, and this is on top, so this one will do for starters. This one, do you remember, well, maybe you don't, but if you wanted to go and have a look at, I'll maybe leave an iCard with it in. Oh, I'm going to do lots of adding of things, aren't I? So this one was the one with the knot. It had a, excuse me, Risa, can I just open this out? It kind of had a knot arrangement in the middle, didn't it? And then it had squares all the way around the outside. Now, I decided that, where have I put them now? There. So what I decided to do, this one, we're calling it Lilac and Green Knot. And it was 65 by 84, which made it really quite long and narrow. And so I was thinking about quilt sizes and what would be a useful quilt. Because if you remember from that video, or you haven't seen it, I'll tell you. These are the quilts that my mum made. She made many, many, many quilts in her life and finished most of them, but these were the last few that weren't finished before she died 3.5 years ago now. So my plan always was to finish these for her and give them to family members. And so there's enough people in the family for everyone to get one. I'm sure there'll be enough for that to happen. But I want them to be useful sizes. And I said in that video that Mum was very pragmatic. She wouldn't have minded me doing this. Now, I made a little video of what I then did, but can I find that video? I've got a feeling I might have deleted it. So if I can't find it, I'll just explain. And if I find it, I'll edit this bit out. How's that for a deal? I've been looking at my mum's quilts again, and I've been starting to sew all the way around the outside of the ones that are going to go up to Kath at the Long Arm Quilters. I've done these 2 just now. But I want to make some changes. Well, this one. This one was long and thin. I've got the measurements here in the book. So this one we're calling strip pieced. And this was 58 by 85. And I think it's too long and narrow. And I think I said this in the video before, that I felt inclined to take one run off the side here and sew it along the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do, because there were some extras of those in the suitcase. So that's what I'm going to do. See if I can find them. And then I also had an idea about this one. This is the very big one that's got that sort of knot arrangement in the middle. And then it's got 1 row of these squares along the top, but it's got 2 rows of them along the sides. So I had an idea that I would, because this is long and thin as well, in order to make it fit better on a bed, I thought I would take, well, I'd have to take it back to there. I would unpick this row from both sides, which would mean that the central motif has one row of squares all the way around the outside. And then what I might do with the spares of this, if it's the nice proportions by doing that, it looked too big to me, it's too wide in this direction. So I'm going to do some unpicking. Mum would not mind, she would not mind me doing this at all. So I'm going to unpick that seam there, like that, easily. And I might use this as a funky thing up the back of the quilt. So let me take the same off the other side. So there are 2 rows there. I'm taking it off this side of the purple. That's the quickest bit of unpicking I've ever done. And this one now is a decent size. It's a reasonable size in both directions. Yeah, that's going to make a much better quilt. And it's also more balanced. It's just much more balanced. So I'm happy with that now. I'm going to run all the way around the outside of this one with a single layer. I think that one's going to look much better. And then with these extra bits here, I could make a couple of pillows to go with it. Or, as I say, do something fun on the back. Do you think I'm being a bit of a vandal? I absolutely know my mum wouldn't mind. She was very pragmatic about this kind of thing. Yeah, she was. So that one's done now. And then this one, I know I've got some more pieces for this one. As they fell out, there they are. There's 2 more pieces there. So I'm going to do a little bit of maths now and work out how many squares there are along the top of this one and how many squares there are down the side, so that if I take one side off, whether these 2 will make it up. Doubtful. So it's 8 across. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, of course, if I take one off, there'll be 11. So it'll be 8, 9, 10. I'll be one missing. That's a shame, because I don't really want to take 2 runs off. I don't think I need to take 2 runs off in order to make this a useful size. It's just too long and thin. Could make 1 strip piece set, couldn't I? That would be my little contribution. Because there's these 2, which is weird. I do feel inclined to do that. So I'm going to, I think this one might not unpick as easily as that one, because they were in one. That was just 1 piece of fabric. So this one might need the seam ripper. We'll see how we go with that. Oh, it's heavy. Now, this one, very usefully, it says on here 4 3/4 yards, but I wonder how wide it is. Because this one would do beautifully for the back of this one. That'll work, won't it? Yes. So I think we're under starter's orders. Now, that's not wide enough, but it will be wide enough if I join it with those extra pieces. I think we're underway now. That one's great. I won't undo the whole thing, because that's 4 3/4 yards. That's enough for that one. Now, what about this one? There was a small quilt, wasn't there? Let's get the small one out. The pinwheel. Oh no, that was quite a delicate one. We don't want this. Okay, let's see. Now, I've decided I'm not going to take the hearts quilt up to Kath. I want to think about that one before I finish that one. I probably would hand quilt that one anyway. And then also that the hexagon one that's not finished. I found some more hexagons when I went down to my mum, so it might be that I can make that a bit bigger. Now, how do you feel about using sheets, cotton sheets as quilt backing? Because my mum used to use them all the time. She would go to wherever and find a sheet. This one's a single fitted sheet. So let's open this one up and see what's going on inside. And she would take them out of the packet. She would open them up. And this one's a fitted sheet. And it's, let's see what the weight of it is. What is it? It's 100% cotton. Now, I have no problem at all with using sheets and as long as they're cotton as quilt backing. I mean, they need a little bit of prep. She'll have bought this for £1, you know. She was always on the lookout for a bargain, always. And this one, once I take it to pieces, might be big enough for one of the smaller quilts. So I'm going to say we're not going to be snooty about using quilts. This one is a duvet cover, a king-size duvet cover in a lovely lilac-y colour. So I'll undo them all, I'll render them all down into single pieces and give them all a wash. And then I think it's going to be fine to use these for the back of the quilt. Let's see. And this one's got pillowcases as well. Okay, so I quite like the colour of that one. And there are some quilts in here that I think would actually look rather well. And what about that one? Does that work? It kind of does, doesn't it? And then there's some more quilts in the suitcase under here. So let's make some more space on the table. Oh, I had a good old clear round, you know, and I'm making a big old mess again. So we've got that stuff there. And I've got some more quilts in this suitcase down here. Do you remember this small one, which was like a cot quilt? Well, I think this sheet would do very well for the back of that. Although that's cream and that's white. We might not have to get too fussy about things like that. Let's see, what else have we got? Then we've got this one, which is also cream. Oh, but this one's got quite a lot of purple in. Lilac. Oh, yes, perfect. So this lilac-y one here is going to go very well indeed with that lilac backing, isn't it? Bingo. That one's a result. That's the heart one that I'm not going to take because I'm not quite sure what to do. The heart log cabin one, I'm not quite sure what to do with that just yet. And this one is the, I've covered up my book now, so I can't see what I called this one. Lilac and cream, no. Lilac and green, not, no. Hearts, strip piece, pink and cream. Did I call that pink and cream? Yes. Something like that anyway. So that's quite a big one. So we need a bigger piece for that. But then I haven't got to the bottom of my bag yet, of my box of tricks yet. Because actually there's this, but I don't think that's going to do anything. Because Mum's quilts are much more pastel. No, it's not going to do. It's my taste, that, not these quilts' taste. Now, what else have we got in here? That's quite interesting. I wonder if that would be a nice backing. Okay, we're back to the plain colours again. I think the plain colours are actually going to be more useful. And this is an enormous piece of white cotton. Well, what I'm going to do now then is open this up and I'm going to cut it down to 2 pieces front and back. And underneath here on this table, there are my scissors. See what else there is in here before we put it on the floor. Well, there's this I brought back. This is a big piece. And I like this, but I wonder if there's a... Look, let's see what happens if we open this one up. How does that suit? Because this one's a little bit more of a bloke's quilt, isn't it? A bit more masculine. But no, there's none of that in here at all. None of it. But what about this one? This one, which was the strip pieced one. Now, I'll tell you what size this one was. The strip pieced one was 58 by 85, and of all of them, this was the longest and thinnest one. And so what I said at the time was, if you remember, when it was on the board, I said I'm going to take one strip off the side and put it along the bottom. But then, of course, that meant that, I'll show you, I did that. I did exactly that. And it does look better for it, I have to say. But what it means is, if I can find it, there. There's one corner, because it wasn't, obviously, they weren't exactly the right number of I can't remember, did I do 2? I think I took 2 off one end and joined them up and put them along the bottom, which have now made a lovely squarer, a better size quilt. But it did mean that I had a bit at the end, can you see, with a square missing. So when I was down looking at my mum's bits and pieces of fabric, I went through loads and loads of little strips and I found some of the same fabrics that are in here and some that would totally go with this. So what I'm going to do before we think about a backing for this one is give these a press and make one more strip pieced corner and stick it on the corner of here. The other thing that I've started to do is to do that single line of stitching, the lap of honour, all the way around the outside of each of these quilts, so that the little seams as they come to the edge won't unravel as Cath's getting it ready to quilt. And that's something that she asks the people who send quilts to her, she asks them to do that. So what I'm going to do before I think of a backing for this one, although, where's it gone? Yeah, I wondered if that would do the backing for this one. It might not. I think we're at the bottom now. There's another piece here, and this is another big piece of white. It might be that that's what we use. Lovely, lovely big pieces of white cotton. This lovely pale colour here for some. So this afternoon then, while the sun's too hot to work outside, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish this strip piece here and stitch it on, and with a bit of luck you won't even be able to see which one it is, and then I'll remeasure this one and find out what size this one is. So I'm playing with fabric this afternoon. I want to get on with this, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do this instead, and then I'm going to prep all these pieces of backing fabric. Wish me luck. here's some film from a couple of weeks ago when I was doing that single stitch around the outside of some of the quilts. I finished the rest of them today, so they're all stitched like that now, ready to go to the quilters. It's really easy to do on this machine. It's such a delight to use. It goes really quickly, so it didn't take long at all. Well, it's much later now. It's about 5:30, and I've had a productive afternoon. I'll show you what I've done. And so this quilt here, which is the string quilt, I made another string. I don't think you'll be able to tell which one it is. When I get the quilts back, we'll have a look at the corners and see if you can tell where I made that extra string block. I've paired this one up with this purple, this lilac, which I really like. Lilac was my mum's favourite colour. And that one is now all ironed and ready. I haven't pressed all of them. I was getting a little bit sick of pressing. So I will press them all before I go up though. This is the, I paired this with this one because I think it looks fantastic. That's more than big enough. So that one's there. I'm going to put these back in the suitcase now. Now this one I've done the most to. Let's have a look at this one. This is the one with the central motif. It'll be interesting to see what this looks like when it comes back. Now, what I've done with this one, I've paired it with this beautiful, this is gorgeous. It's a little bit duskier than the other purpley one. And this is the quilt top, but this is the quilt back. And I did piece the two pieces together with a little row of the extra pieces, and it's more than big enough. So with that one, oops, when Kath gets that one, I'm hoping that what she is the excess I can use for the binding. In fact, I'm hoping that there'll be binding for quite a lot of these. This one was an easy one to measure up. This is the little cock quilt, possibly, and I've put that with this lovely creamy coloured cotton. That was an easy one to measure and do. There, this one, now, this one was a little bit harder. I've spent all afternoon doing this. This one here is the square and square quilt. And so when I think about my family, there are guys in my family and girls, and so I was thinking that it would be quite nice to have some sort of backing on some of them. So I've made this blue. It wasn't big enough, so I've pieced it together in two places. I think that'll be fine. You'll not see that. And I think that I'll ask Kath to quilt this one in this colour blue, so that you'll see the blue on the white and that you won't see it. You'll just see the shape of it on the back. I think that one's going to be really nice. So that's the blue one ready and done there now. And then the last one, oh no, there's two more. The log cabin quilt here, I've had a long think about that. I could have put the blue with this one, but actually in the end, I just decided that would have white on this one and have a really lovely colour of thread. So that's that one there. And then this is the last one here, which is this lovely pastel-y spring-like colours, and I've put some pale, what's this called again? Cream colour with that one. And so that one's there. And they are all ready now put them back up here. It's been quite an afternoon because I've also sewn round the outside of each one. There were some of those were done, but not all. I've made that spare block. I've sorted out the backing of this one. It's going to be interesting to see how that one looks. I think it's going to be a useful size. I've had to piece together one backing there. I've done a lot of ironing. I got a little bit sick of ironing, so I'm going to do more of that some other time. But now what I'm going to do is pack all of these. Now what I've got here is the Hearts quilt, which is not going up with me to Scotland. Okay. So I'm going to take the big suitcase up to Scotland with me, and we'll put everything that's not going up back in the small suitcase. So let's count them in. 1, 2, 3. This is the backing for 3. 4. This is the one I'm most interested in seeing finished. 5. This one. 6. 7. Now, I'm not taking that up with me. This is Agnes's hexagon quilt that's come off the board so that I can do this. There's lots of action going on in this sewing department just now, but that's 7 quilts there in the red suitcase, ready to go up to Scotland. So I'll be in touch with Kath next, and the next one in this series will be us driving up to Scotland. That'll be fun. But now, what's the time? It's 5:30, 5:45, and so I need to have a quick cup of tea and then get outside and do that planting because it's a lot cooler. So I'll be able to go outside and do that. Oh, it's been quite an afternoon. I've enjoyed it very much. It's been really, really great. And I'll put this one away before we get cats asleep on it, and that one too. And then the next thing I'm guessing I'm going to do sewing wise is get on and finish some of this. There's lots more stitching to do on that, but it's really nice, easy stitching. No thinking at all. It's just very straightforward stitching to do. And we will not wait 3 years before we see this up at the windows upstairs. So thank you very much for watching. Do press the subscriptions thing if you want to never miss a video when I post one, and the notifications bell will help you do that, and leave a comment. I do try to read them all. I did read all the comments on the adverts video, and I was really appreciative of everybody leaving very positive comments there, so thank you very much indeed for that. And I will see you next week with something else. Okay, see ya.